feeling confused. Like there's someone that gave me something and then yanked it away from me. There's a man, and I feel it's like very strong feeling in my chest, and it's like I'm being told that when I'm given something, I have to give something up. Hello, everyone. Today I have my husband Irfan here with me, and we are going to be doing a demo session. So my husband has been doing these fire coaching sessions on the in group in Kainat, and the ladies have been just reacting in just amazing ways. And then I started having him doing private sessions on me, and the results are unreal. And the thing is, you guys have to understand, I have spent over $1 million on my inner work and personal development. I've had so many coaches, I've had so many mentors, I've had therapists. We've done so many different things. This is like my full-time job, right? I love personal development, even before I had this business. And I'm telling you, I have not seen anything like this. So Irfan has a background in engineering, and he is a Lean Six Sigma process improvement black belt. He's into physics, and he just has this like really rich prior experience and history as a consultant, as a teacher, as an engineer, and now as a certified life coach. And I think that the way his brain took coaching, I've just never seen anything like this. And the group sessions are amazing. Those recordings are in Kainat, but honestly, the individual sessions are next level because they're so custom tailored to like exactly what you need. And so yesterday in my live stream on YouTube, I announced that my husband had done this deep, like quantum healing coaching session on me, and something that was like a complete repressed thing from when I was a little baby came up and was able to completely, I was able to release it. Like if I go back to it, there's zero charge in me. And since then, I've even watched a movie where previously that movie would have been very triggering for me because of that thing from my past. So these sessions are really like valuable because we tend to think of inner work as like hard work, but these sessions do like all the heavy lifting and efforting for you. So I've had access to this, and it has been like, I'm like, well, you shouldn't do this, but I'm like trying to dig up things that I can. I'm like, I want another session. I want another session. So yesterday I talked about it in YouTube, and it went viral. Okay. It hasn't even been 24 hours yet. And the emails and the responses we've gotten, like people interested in these sessions and signing up, has been wild. There were also a lot of questions of like, what do these look like? They are highly individualized, but we thought, what if we did a demo with something that it is a pattern for me. And I've done other like work on this, but it's like, it's still there. Like it's lessened it. It's like less and less, but I can still feel that the pattern is somewhere still there. So it hasn't been a deep enough clearing with other modalities. So I'm like, Irfan, let's do it on this. Because when he does a session on me, it's like completely, most of the time, I can't even remember what the thing is. But even if I can remember it, there's zero charge left on it. Even if a similar situation occurs where in the past I would have felt a charge, no charge. And this is exactly what our Kainat students are also reporting, like massive breakthroughs. And all they've experienced so far is the group ones. So I'm gonna have Irfan come on, and we'll let him take over and lead the session.
Sure, sure. So as Mina mentioned, these sessions are very, very tailored. So no two sessions are going to be alike. So what I do is the reason I designed this is because of my background in different subjects, right? So there's a lot of physics, math, metaphysics, engineering, philosophy, Lean Six Sigma Black. I mean, I'm by the way, Master Black, but not Black Belt. So all those bring in the rational part of that, and then the same rationality and the deep insight has, helped take all the different stuff that deals with subconscious sciences, right? So they've taken like hundreds and hundreds of techniques and combined them into something that works, particularly in conjunction with conscious work. So these sessions are a combination of conscious coaching as well as subconscious coaching. And in the subconscious coaching, the ones that I've done again and again with Mina are the timeline cleansing exercises. So we'll do a demo of that, but that's not the only thing. There's a lot of other tools, and that based on the situation, based on the challenges, I'll bring on the tools or approaches that are necessary. So let's bring on this challenge. So explain to me what is the issue that you want to handle.
So today what I want to work on is this reoccurring pattern that I've had for a really long time that presents itself with very many different people. So I know it's definitely me that's attracting it. It's not them. Where people will give me something that I don't want. And but the energy is in the thing is, okay, now give me something back. And I've like I said, I've worked through this before, so it's not like that's just I'm assuming that. Like if I just receive what they're giving, which by the way, I didn't ask for it, I didn't want it, they might even come and say, well, I did that thing for you, or I gave you that thing, now do this for me. And typically the things that they ask of me are not things that I wanted to do. And it makes it really icky for me, especially because maybe I would have done it out of the generosity of my heart anyways, but now it feels like something about it feels like really icky to me. And if I don't do it, then it feels like I feel guilty, like, oh my God, like I'm obligated. The other part is that it's that there's that, and then there's a deeper version where sometimes people will create problems in my life, fix them, and then I feel like,
You're welcome, basically. They're saying
yeah,
you're
you're
welcome.
welcome. And then I'm like feeling held to that. Like now I have to
Mhm.
keep solving their problems that they're putting the fires on themselves. Like I have to be a firefighter for them forever. And I will like I'm like stuck in that dynamic. And so I
Okay.
worked through it before, and it that person will fall away or will stop doing it, but then it keeps up with a new phase. So I know that there's something deeper left that needs to be addressed.
Okay, so let me recap that and make sure I understand that. So when you said that sometimes they give you something that you don't want, and maybe it's not that you don't want, but the value is a lot less than the expectation it creates in the future, right? So it's almost little to no value. Sometimes it's even negative because they're creating a problem for you to begin with that they will attempt to solve. And then now you are stuck in some kind of an expectation that now you owe something, right? And that what you owe is also something that you don't want to do. It's not something that there are a lot of things that you do and want to do for people, but usually in this pattern, there's things that you not necessarily want to do. So it's a double whammy. You're getting something that you don't want, and getting like having to give credit for that, and now you owe something that also you don't want. So it's a double whammy, kind of thing. So tell me this: does that feel like a decision that you made that lets them cross their boundary? So because of overgiving or whatever, does it look like back in time somewhere you've made a decision that kind of has created that lack of boundaries where you think that is allowed, or do you feel like there's some emotion regarding that? So like a long time ago it happened and there's a stuck emotion regarding this phenomena that is stuck, and because you have not processed that, that is remaining in you, and it's kind of keeps manifesting it over and over again because the body doesn't know how to process it, or a combination of that. So what do you think is the background for this?
Well, when you were saying about the limiting decision, I couldn't feel anything and I couldn't like say a yes or a no. But when you started saying about the emotion, something really started moving in my body.
Yeah. And we want you to trust the subconscious, right? So that's the whole thing. So it looks like the exercise that we normally do, the timeline cleansing one, will be ideal one for this because we'll address that because something happened in the past that has its association to this, and there's some emotion that is stuck. So we have to kind of go back and release that and give a new meaning to that emotion and make some new decisions. Even though you're saying it's not a decision, but at that moment it was, right? So we'll go back and address that anyway. Now tell me also that what is the consequence of this? So once you, um, you said that's a repeating pattern, right? So when you say that you feel obligated, do you feel like if you don't give them what they are asking for, even though you don't want it, that's more painful? Or do you think that when you do it because it's not, something you want, that is painful too by definition? So which one seems like the bigger devil? Not doing it is leaves you like kind of a guilt, right? That's the whole point of this thing, right? That they've left you with some kind of illusion of you owing something. So if you don't do it, the guilt is on one hand, and then when you do it, you don't like it. So either way, there's some uncomfort. Which one feels heavier?
Um, I usually end up doing it because the discomfort of not doing it, especially when they remind me,
Yes.
I
Okay.
did that thing for you 8 years ago.
Right.
Like, so then I usually end up doing it, and then there's
Yep.
resentment, and then I have to either burn down that entire friendship or
Got it. Got it.
yeah, so I would say it seems like that's the bigger devil.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's clear. So you ready to do it?
Yes.
Okay. And again, for the demo, I mean, we don't need to practice a lot of things. So typically, I will do a lot of, explanation of the jargons that we need, how to access the timeline and all that. So we're going to skip all of that because we've done it with Mina before. So you're already familiar with your timeline, but let's close your eyes and reenact that timeline in your head. So again, you already know where your timeline lives, past, present, future. So just kind of picture that in your head, thinking about some events in the past, look at the present, think about the future. So, you already have that, so it should come back very quickly for you. Yeah. All right. So now, with that timeline in your head, let's talk about the problem that we just discussed. And you said it's more like an emotion, because that seems like the stronger, feeling that you have. So try to feel that emotion as if you're living through this right now, and there's some hurt involved or some tension involved. So try to feel that emotion. And can you explain that? How does it feel like? Where's the location of that in your body, the intensity? So it's around the chest area in the middle of the chest?
Yeah, it feels like someone's like putting pressure on my chest and almost like I can't breathe. It's like a very
Right.
choky kind of sensation.
Right. And it kind of makes sense because the energy center or the heart is like right there. So that's where it is residing. What would you say the intensity of that tension is or the hurt is?
It's pretty intense. I would say it's probably like a 9 right now.
9 right now. Okay. All right. So that's fine. So what we'll do is, are you ready to release that emotion right now?
Yes.
Okay. So in your timeline, what I want you to do is to try to disassociate yourself. So as if you are looking at yourself, so try to go up in the timeline as if you're watching yourself from the top. You're looking at your own timeline, looking downwards, and you as high up as you can. So you disassociate it from the now. You're watching yourself in the timeline. Okay.
Mhm.
And the timeline should appear very small to you. So now, while you're up there, go back to the root and trust your subconscious wherever that is. When did this start? The root of this thing, the event that triggered this feeling, the event that triggered the emotion or the decision, which is stuck. So, what do you think is the age in the timeline where this happened?
It's saying that it was at 1.
At one?
Yeah.
Okay. So trust that one, and go back into the timeline. And you were 1 year old now. And feel the emotions at that time because that freshly happened. So what kind of emotions are you feeling?
I'm feeling confused. Like there's someone that gave me something and then yanked it away from me. And then there's like some weird kind of play happening where they give me something and then they like take away something that it's like very near and dear to me, and I'm like very confused because I don't want to give the thing that they keep taking away from me in exchange for what they're giving me. It's some kind of someone's playing with me. I'm in a diaper.
Okay. Okay. So at that moment, obviously you were, I mean, when we talk about decision, you could not be in a position to make decisions. Was there somebody around that could have made decisions for you and you felt like betrayed?
Yeah, there's a man, and I feel it's like very strong feeling in my chest, and it's like I'm being told that when I'm given something, I have to give something up.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And which of these feelings you feel stronger? Are you feeling that tension more because you're being told that you have to give something that you don't want, or that default emotion in you because you have to give it regardless of somebody else being there?
It's because I have to give it. They keep snatching it from me.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So as a result of that snatching and you feeling that, that emotion is stuck and that is kind of handling decisions, right? Subconsciously or consciously, mostly subconsciously. So that's become part of your mental model. And every decision you made, that event had something to do with things and the emotions that play out. And even the things that you attract, right? To be in a position where this keeps happening is because of that stuck emotion that keeps attracting it so that the body can find a meaning to it. So now that you're back in that place, we have an opportunity to redefine that. So first of all, does any new meaning come to mind? So what is the lesson? So if you want to exchange that emotion for a lesson for yourself in the future that you can pass on to the future self now, what would be that learning in that moment? Even though you know that you were one, you would not be able to exercise that decision at that point, but still, what is the learning?
That I don't have to, first of all, take what they're giving me, and I definitely do not have to give what I have, what I don't want to give.
So it's your choice, right? So both ways, it's your choice. Yeah, if you don't want something, you can say no, thank you. And if you don't want to give something, you can say, you can draw the line and say that's not up for grabs. So that is a decision that you could make. And can we revise that decision?
Yes.
So let's update that decision. Let's meta update yourself at that age and try to incorporate that learning. So that's a learning that this is what you should do. And it's also a decision that you could make because you are in control. And by definition, you want that control back. So try to incorporate that learning in exchange for releasing that stuck emotion or the bad meaning that you've given. Because the meaning you have given is that if you're in that situation, you don't have a choice. So release that decision, release that emotion, and instead plant that this new decision and the new emotion that, hey, I'm in charge and I'm going to be happy either way. If I don't want something, I will not accept it. And if I don't want to give something, I would not have to give it. And either way, nobody should be unhappy about that because that's your free will. So update that decision.
Saying that it doesn't want to because they're gonna get mad, that it's too risky to say no or not give them what they want. There's
Okay.
fear coming now.
Fear coming up in that moment. Okay, let's do this. Let's go up in the timeline and a little bit back. And even though that was one, you can go even before birth if you need to, right? So go back a little bit from that timeline to maybe just right after birth or something like that, right? So you're looking forward ahead now into that event. And from that vantage point now, try to release that tension. So now in that moment, the event has not even happened. So you're free of charge there. Now try to see if you can more freely update the decision as well as release the emotion. So give it a shot.
So when I went back to 6 months old, it was still there. When
Okay.
I went to my mother's womb, it was still there. In fact, it feels like it might have been even inherited by her. She also had the same belief.
Yes.
But when I'm going before her into my grandmother, it's there, but it's
Okay.
less
Okay. So
charged.
so let's be in that timeline. And then for especially for women, it's very common that, things are in their timeline, generations back are part of the timeline in which these decisions and emotions are passed on. So So from that grandmother timeline, can you look at the 1 year age and try to release that emotion, try to update that decision and update the lessons at that point? Does that level of emotion feel lighter now?
It feels lighter, yes.
Okay.
Let me see
So
if I can
then,
update it.
yeah, try to update it from there.
Yes.
Awesome. Good, good, good. So from there, what does that charge feel like? Remember you said almost like a 9. So from that timeline point, what does that emotion feel like now that you have kind of released it and exchanged that for the learning and updated the decision? Does that feel like a much lower number now?
In my grandmother's body, it feels like a 7.
Okay. So much less, but it's still there, huh? It's pretty high.
Yeah.
Okay. Is some of that still stuck because you've updated the decision, but you are kind of still like a little bit on the stuck with the consequences of other people? So, like somebody else would be unhappy. So, can
Yes.
you try to update or disconnect, disassociate from that and say, okay, let it be my free will, and somebody else's decision is not going to influence yours? So, try to disconnect that cord because I think you're feeling attached because you're trying to disassociate yourself, but that other strings that are attached, the boundaries that were not laid out, and it's very hard for you to undo those boundaries at that age. So try to separate yourself from the surroundings and the people having expectations, and then isolate yourself and try to update your decision now with yourself isolated from other people's influence.
Oh my God. Okay, so when I feel into that there's no consequences, it goes down to a 2.
There you go. There you go. And if there are consequences, it's not for you. It's for the other people, and you're carrying the charge for somebody else, right? And that's the whole point. You want to release that burden, and it's your free will, especially stuff that you receive and you give. It's absolutely your free will. So with that, let's just give one more shot. So now that you've done that, like, can you go back to the grandmother timeline?
Yes.
And with that, further isolation and the boundaries in place, can you allow yourself one more time to release that emotion and update the decision even further so that the charge is even less?
I'm feeling no charge now in my grandmother's body.
Awesome. Awesome. That's what we wanted. So with that lack of charge, you've completely reset your decisions and incorporated the learnings, and you have set the boundaries and disassociated, your free will from others. So now what we're going to do is we're going to travel back in time to present, but don't go right away. You're gonna live every moment that you can uh, through that timeline, reliving it with this new moment. So anything that has to do with giving or receiving and that negative energy, you're gonna relive that moment all over again, cleansing that entropy, releasing the emotion along the way, closing all the windows because everything time that happened, it kind of leaves a window open. So now this time you're going to close the windows. So imagine yourself going through all the events one snap a shot at a time, from the age of 1 to 2 to 3, all the way to today. You're cleansing the entropy, you're releasing the emotions, and every step of the life you are leading with the new decisions that you've just updated. And take your time with it and go through all the way up to the present. And let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
You back to now, and you're
Yes.
associated, right? So you're looking through yourself. Okay. So First of all, how does it feel? You still at almost zero when you were back there, you were zero. When you came back in the present now, you're still at zero.
When I came back in my body, it's like a one.
But yeah, and which makes sense, right? Because the
Mhm.
just being in the present, the surroundings and everything is gonna trigger a little bit, but it is going to be much better. Now, while you're in the present, you try to close all the windows as you came back and you traveled the timeline and cleanse the entropy. Right now in the present, right, when you're trying to be in the present, they're like that monkey brain that has a lot of the windows open. Try to close all the other windows associated with this energy because at this given time, all the things that are going on around that, those windows are still open because you addressed that in the past, you came all the way, but there may be some current windows because you are in the present. It triggered in your mind that, yeah, but you've released the past, but that may be still open. So give yourself permission to close all the windows associated with this charge. That any transaction that's going on in which you feel like that is going on, you're receiving something that you don't want, you're having to give something, close down all those windows completely as if there's nothing going on. So
I'm
mentally
able to
rehearse to
close
close.
most of them, but there's some where I'm in stuck in the loop where they've already given their thing and I received it, and now even though I never asked for it, and now I feel obligated. So those
Yeah,
ones are a little bit harder
those
to
will take a
close.
little time, and some of that is just going to be a lesson learned. So in the future, you won't even get into start the transaction. This one that has started is going to pan out a little bit. Even that one is going to have less of a emphasis on like what you owe just because you gave them something. So you can't undo them giving you something, but you can still lessen the charge on like what the expectation is. So, but I can see why there'll be a slight amount of like an open window. So would you say the overall charge, from I think we started with a 9 back to zero, but in the present, because of this ongoing thing that we're going to try to minimize, and some of them will continue to clear as your body processes this. So are you saying it's closer to one or half, or where would you
Yeah,
put the number?
about a one.
About a one. Okay. So I think this is progress enough. And I think and as you've done in the past, you felt like that, tension releasing even over the next day or so while the body processes it because there was a lot, right? So the body is going to take its time to release it. And, like some of the mental model, sometimes it fights back. So it takes some time to clear the rest of it. So now let's think about this while you're staying in the timeline. Think about the timeline in the future, and let's think about a situation. So what has happened, that's fine. But now imagine yourself in a position in the future, and trust your subconscious whenever that is happening. So imagine sometime in the future where this is about to repeat. Somebody's trying to give you something that you don't want, and the whole thing is about to happen. What do you think about that situation? What is the charge there? Do you feel very confident that that boundary is strong now?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Excellent. Excellent. And in lieu of that, what is the kind of thing that you want to attract that, the way you want to handle it? So the alternates in a situation. So if something happens, what is your way of handling it? What would be the ideal state which feels to you that it's guilt-free? You don't feel like you're coming across as like, not being, grateful. You're just coming across as, hey, this is just something I don't want. And I don't want to set the wrong expectations. So, what is the ideal state? Can you imagine that state in which you're doing the transaction as best as possible from your point of view?
So what's coming up is that if it's a person that is generously giving and there's no expectation, that in that situation, I can choose to receive if I want to without guilting myself that I have to reciprocate. But if it's a person that I know for sure that they're going to want something in return, I can say no.
Okay. And then
And
A was never a problem to begin with. We never said that we're going to solve the problem that you will never receive something. You're just going to solve the problem where you're receiving something that you don't want, especially when there's expectation. So the first example was something that was never a problem. And of course, we're going to not handle that. And that is fine. That's still welcome. So that second scenario, you can visualize yourself. So can you visualize it, and can you feel the how you feel, how you talk to yourself, right? When you're talking to yourself that, hey, you know what, this is what I want to do. I'm going to do this, and I'm completely okay with that, and the other person should be okay with that. So kind of visualize that event in which this is happening. The boundaries are very strong, and I'm talking about the one in which you're not comfortable receiving, right? So you are handling it in a way that is very comfortable to you and it's not offensive to the other side. And you're feeling it, you can hear the communication and everything is fine. Can you visualize that and feel that and talk to yourself about and hear that whole scenario?
Yes.
Okay. So feel that very strongly and with your timeline very clear in your head, place it in the future at some arbitrary point where you think that this might be the next time that may be happening. Obviously, you can't predict when it will happen, but imagine that it will be happening. And the way you handle that, the whole visuals of that, the audio of that, the self-talk about that, the feeling about that, place it in the timeline wherever your subconscious thinks is going to be most meaningful. Put it in the timeline so that you know that is what is going to happen.
Okay.
You got it? You feel confident?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So I think that's a wrap. So to recap, we discussed this charge or the emotion or decision that was emanating from an event that was at the age of 1, and that has been causing you the pain all along. And because if you're stuck in this cycle of either guilt or uncomfort either way, and you most of the time you're stuck with the worst option where because you want to be a giver and you have been very uncomfortable. And so we cleansed the entropy all the way from that age. I mean, in fact, we had to go all the way back to a few generations back, all the way up to now. All the entropy is closed, clean. All the windows have been closed. The present windows have been closed. And we tested the future. And in the future, you can handle it a different way and you're comfortable about it. So with that mindset that, you're even feeling comfortable about the future now the present charge should be pretty much zero.
It's like how it's happened in our sessions before, where it's like a 0.5
Yeah.
and then it
Yeah.
releases overnight when I
Exactly.
sleep.
That's where we want it to be anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not bad. Like in a few minutes, if we can go take something that has been bothering you for your entire life, and we reduce it from a 9 or something to a 0.5 in like a few minutes, not a bad deal, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now, whenever you're comfortable, you can come back to the present and in your conscious mind again, and open your eyes. How does
Oh,
it feel?
it feels so good. It feels really, really good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
and of course, once you address that, the next limiting thing, something is going to come, because when you think about the entropy in your head, right? This is whatever the next charge is going to get highlighted, right? So that's why it's like a whack-a-mole thing, where you have to keep
Yeah.
addressing it. So that's why one session is very useful, but you might need to do again and again to keep addressing these things, and go on to the next thing. So yeah, it is a life-changing exercise.
It really is. And what I've seen from my like with the groups and then with me that I've been doing with Irfan is that for me the charges I've been doing it on the ones where the charges are high, obviously because I've been doing inner work for so long that most of the stuff I've dealt with, but these are like really deeply ingrained. And what I've noticed is I'll come in with anywhere, remember the one where it was like 10 charge? So it'll be charged from anywhere from like 7, 8, 9, 10. And then in the session, I'll go down to a 0.5 and then I'll sleep that night. We usually do these at night. And then in the morning, I'll wake up and there's like zero charge. And so same thing we've heard from our group clients that some of them had to do it like the group sessions 2 or 3 times and then the charge was gone. What I will say is that the same charge never returns. So when Irfan's saying that you have to do
Yeah.
it many times, it's a different charge for a different scenario will come up. So I have seen like 100% success rate with this. And again, I'm someone that's done so many different things. This is truly life-changing work. I love it.
And in terms of, maybe we talked about the windows, right? So that's one computer analogy. What happens to your brain after this exercise is that it tries to defragment, right? So if you people are familiar, right? So a lot of different things that are written in the memory, literally in the hard drive. What the brain does is, and the theory is that during sleep, when we dream, especially, the brain is, doing the whole defragmentation, kind of cleaning up. So with you cleanse that much entropy, and many times people literally say, I don't even remember that thing. So the brain takes some time to kind of reorganize and kind of make sense of the new memory system. And so it takes some time to, and that's when you do that, sometimes there's a feeling of a little bit nausea, a little bit of a flu-like symptoms. And if that happens, actually, that's a good thing. That's a body processing those emotions, kind of rewiring the brain, defragmenting all the memory cells to only keep the stuff that is relevant to you, and all the past stories are actually gone.
Yeah, this is such a good point that you brought up because in the one we did where I was a 10 with that charge,
Yeah.
and we went back, it was when I was 3, when my dad was there. The next day I woke up and I felt like I was hit by a truck, like my head hurt. And then I had an appointment scheduled for that day, and I didn't even know this feature was in my car because I've never experienced this before. And my car kept beeping and vibrating like the steering wheel. And
Sway.
then it
Yeah.
was giving me the sway warning, and it was showing me a coffee cup. And I'm like, what the hell? Because I've never seen the car do that. And I realized that the car was saying that I'm swaying when I'm driving. So if a session comes up where it's you go deeper and this is the first session I've done that I wasn't like crying and like it was like the emotion released a different way. Typically, the ones we've done have been, and maybe because we've been doing so many now that it's like it's getting easier and easier. But there was a lot of like releasing and crying and shaking. So maybe depending on what you're bringing, you can do this for small limiting beliefs for big things, but maybe don't drive the next day and like give yourself some
Especially if you're
grace.
feeling like dizzy, if you're feeling
Yeah,
that things. For some people,
I
it
was
doesn't happen. It
dizzy.
depends. It's person to person.
Yeah, but for 24 hours with the 10 charge one, but that I would have to say that in my entire life, that's probably the biggest thing that was like consuming that fear was like consuming my life. So that was a big one for me. And it did take a little bit long. That session was like a longer too.
Yeah. Perfect, perfect. And depending on the how easy or quickly it goes, maybe in one session there may be a time to do multiple cleanses, so
Yeah.
because they don't take that long. So part of that, like I said, is going to be the conscious mind training, and that's also my expertise, right? The physics, the metaphysics, the Lean Six Sigma, all those things are going to address the conscious brain from like even addressing the problem. Many times I've talked to people, and the problem even goes away because the problem was not real, right? It was like things were so convoluted. So what I would do is kind of help you sort that out, and it'll become so unconvoluted that sometimes it just disappears. It was just things were so complicated. You were seeing something that was not even there. So, and doing that, we will unravel something else, and will turn out that we'll be solving a problem that is completely different than you came to the table for,
Yeah.
right? So that's the rational and the conscious mind, thing. And then once we're doing this, there are other techniques also. We can create some associations. So if you want to bring a happy feeling from the past, we can associate it and combine it with this exercise. So at the end, when you feeling and you seeing the future, we can associate a good stuff. So there's a lot of different techniques. And like I said, there are no two sessions that are going to be identical. So everything is tailor made. Yeah, I'm looking forward to these sessions.
That's amazing. So I'll go ahead and put the link if you guys want to book a session. So you can either do a single session with Irfan or you can do a package of 4. And so while the site is still active, it's going to be open. And then as soon as you go to the website and you choose whether you want a single session or a 4 bundle, as soon as you purchase, there's going to be an email automatically sent out to you. It's also listed in the course portal, but check your spam so you are getting our emails. And with Irfan's booking link, and then you can use his booking link to get on his schedule. The other thing I want to say that there was a group exercise that Irfan recently did in Money Foreplay with the girls in Kainat. That was a group session. And so we bonused that in. So if you purchase a session with him just to help you kind of like prepare for this session, this private session, you can go and watch that recording. It's a 53-minute recording in the course portal when you purchase a session with him. So that's going to be there. And just keep in mind that no 2 sessions are alike. Irfan skipped a lot of things with me because we're literally doing these every day. I'm obsessed with them. I'm like looking for stuff, even though you're not supposed to you're not supposed to pull stuff out from your consciousness. You're supposed to take things that are actually genuinely showing up, because the things that are genuinely showing up are ready to be released by your like your defense systems. It's ready to be healed by your subconscious. And even though I know this, it's so fun and it's having such a big impact on my life. like just how I'm feeling and just how I'm showing up. And I've never seen anything work at this level with this type of coaching. And I'm in the industry and I'm obsessed with the industry. So I'm really excited that we get to have access to this now. So I'll put everything in the description box for you guys. Thank you so much. And I hope this brings some light into how these sessions actually go. And we would love to hear your comments and we'll be interacting with you guys. All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
I just wanted to offer some like extra details of my experience in this session and just give you guys a little bit more information. So what was really interesting was when I was there at one, I could like feel the charge super like strong. Like it was like really full on strong. Then when I went back to 6 months, it was still strong. When I went to being in my mom's womb, it was the strongest. When I went into my grandmother's body, it went down, as you guys remember. And this is so interesting, and I want you to trust whatever comes up for you. Like it doesn't matter if it logically makes sense or not to you or to Irfan, who's your coach. It just matters that that is what your subconscious is saying. And when we deal with that, it just completely is like such a big paradigm shift and it's able to release it. But what's really interesting is that we know like scientifically that the eggs that were formed, that is us, was formed in our grandmother's body. So that means that I existed as eggs in my mom's body in my grandmother's body. So when I was experiencing that, what was really interesting was this pattern was very little in my grandmother's body. So if she had healed it, if she had done her inner work, then it would have cleared out in her body, which means that in my mom and in my life, it would have been much less. So this is like so like interesting to me because I always talk about 7 generations past and 7 generations forward. And it seems like from what I experienced today that pattern existed in my grandmother's body and it got stronger in my mom's body. My mom grew it. She amplified it by participating in it. And then I have it. And because I've healed it, my daughter is going to have a completely different relationship to it. She too probably has it from being in my mom's womb, in my ovaries in my mom's womb. This is a scientific fact that's how epigenetically trauma gets traveled, and that's generational curses are actually generational trauma passed down through DNA. And so now that my daughter gets to see me healing through it, and I'm going to have conversations with her, this is things we discuss, and she'll see mom setting better boundaries, mom not being guilted into these kind of things, then it gets to end with me. And she gets to have a completely different way of relating to her life and boundaries and things like that. So I just wanted to mention that this is so just amazing to me. This work is so potent. The other thing I want to say, sorry, of course they're mowing the lawn like at this exact time, is that you do not have to share the details for this to work. Jesus. Okay, I'm going to move. He's like right over here. I'm going to move somewhere. For example, when I do these sessions with Irfan, I share details with him because like I want to, right? Like if I want to just tell him the thing, I tell him the thing. You don't have to. For example, if I had stopped at 1, that I'm a 1-year-old and this is when I'm feeling it, I don't have to tell him that there's a man playing a game with me. I don't have to give him details I don't want to. That part is a completely irrelevant part of the process. So I just want to make that clear, because if you're like, oh, I don't want to tell Irfan like my personal business, you don't have to. Just being able to say, yes, I can feel it, I've gone back, I'm 1, or whatever the thing is, or even sensations that you're feeling, it's enough. You can keep it like as little details as possible. In fact, like it has the exact same results, if not more, if you don't give unnecessary details. So I just want to make that clear that you're not required to share personal details if you don't want to. So I just wanted to kind of like share with you, and it's been like I don't know, 20 minutes since the process and I have 0 charger on the thing. So for me, it usually takes a little bit of processing afterwards. Like now, like when I pull it up, I can't even remember actually what was the thing about. I can't even remember in this exact moment what the problem was. I literally, oh my gosh. Okay. Whatever the thing was, I can't even pull it up at this point. So this is just wild to me how amazing these sessions are. And I just wanted to kind of just add that feedback in there. So I love you so much. And all the links are in the description box. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.